It started with some motorcycle riding. Every, I think, third ride, I would have busted oil seals. I bust out my exhaust. Hero and Honda, they parted ways, and Hero announced Impulse. So I'm from an army background, so we have lived in a lot of camps, and then I started with professional photography. We were not scared of frogs or snails or snakes.
Okay.
So when we talk in our group, we say, let's go to MMT. I have never used a sat-nav system because there is a 25,000 rupees penalty and 3 years imprisonment. Any group follows what the leader does. So this is how you can make your motorcycle off-road friendly. The biggest problem is wherever we are going on these trails, ambulances cannot come. This is a risk that we have. There should be at least 2 to 3 guys, at least. Once it happened that we were out of network and there was this tall grass there. Luckily, I carry a drone with me. One time I was having 6 cameras on me. So we were lost there for I think half an hour. There was no network and we could not contact anyone.
A big shout out and thank you to my equipment partner, Primes and Zooms, where you can rent all the audio, photo, and video equipment that you want. The technical knowledge that they have, the amount of equipment that they have, and the entire experience of going to them and renting the equipment is going to leave you completely spellbound. As my first guest on the show, I'm bringing to you an engineer, ex-IT and software HSBC. He's also the founder of Pixelworks Photography that's into corporate and weddings. He's the co-founder of storeforriders.com, which is into motorcycle accessories and riding accessories. If that's not enough, he's been on the saddle for 17 years, even before Facebook and Instagram came in. Please welcome Mr. Nikhil Sood. Hi, Nikhil. Welcome to the show. Welcome to Spoked Out. So can you tell me and all the audience, all the people who want to, hear your story about your background, about what drives you, what's your passion?
So I'm an ex-engineer and I worked in IT long back. And then I started with professional photography. That is my full-time job. And then motorcycling has been a passion for many, many years. So I started riding, I think around 20 years back, 22 years back. And after that, I've been riding ever since. So riding, photography, both my passions. And that is what I'm doing now.
I can relate to that, and I think there's a similarity between us because even I am a photographer and a rider. I think you were a rider first, photographer later, but I think I am a photographer first and rider later. So great. So I believe that you're doing this for 17 years. That's what your bio says, and I think that's about the time when India was seeing an influx of motorcycles. This entire field was not much explored. There were hardly any brands, good motorcycles, accessories, apparels out there. So in a situation like this, how did you foray into it? How did you venture into off-roading and trail riding?
When I started riding, initially it was just commuting. So just using a motorcycle for commute. And then it started with some bike tips. So by the time I was ending my college in 2006, it started with some motorcycle riding, going to places like Mahabaleshwar, Lonavala, Mulshi, the usual places. And then there was a time when we went to Mahabaleshwar. In between there was Satara and we went to Tosekar Windmill Farms. Now this was a guided tour we had done with Suzlon guys, and there we went off-roading in a Jeep. I loved that terrain because there were thousands of windmills around and it was a flat open place with lots of off-roading I could see, and I could visualize myself maybe like an off-road rider. So when I was a child, I used to see Dakar races on the TV. So that is my vision of off-roading and exploring, like totally big, vast sand dune area, and there's a motorcycle going there, throwing up dust. So I used to visualize myself like that. And then when I saw that place, I was like, okay, we have such places in India, which is very close to Pune. And once I had got my group together, so in 2007, I got my group there. So I told them that let's go off-road because obviously cars and regular bikes won't be able to make it to that place. But it was a good fun experience. So that vast open landscape and that windmills and everything, that is what got me hooked.
Okay. So which motorcycle did you ride at the time, and what has been your progression in terms of what you started with and what are you riding now?
So in 2007, I had the Pulsar 220 Fi. So that was my motorcycle. I initially started with the highways and going to regular places where there were roads. And then I started venturing into off-roading. Now, at that time, there were no other motorcycles available which were tuned for off-road. So this motorcycle, I know that we used to take it off road. Every, I think, third ride, I would have busted oil seals. I bust out my exhaust. Every ride, there would be some nuts and bolts missing from the motorcycle, and there would be some panels which will start making noise. So this is where I started. Then I got to know that a lot of people were riding their bullets in off road because it was supposed to be a heavy duty motorcycle, like tough build
Yeah.
and everything, not a plastic bike,
Yeah.
as they say. So I picked up a Machismo 500, hoping that this will improve my quest for exploring and going off road. When I picked up that motorcycle, I realized that it's a good bike, but it's a pretty heavy bike. The big revelation came when we went to Malaysia. There I got a chance to try out a dual sport motorcycle, and we rode it in the jungles, in the farms, near the beaches, and it was just amazing. It was lightweight, it was manageable, just I think 150 cc and hardly 12, 13 horses, but it was amazing. We went double seat. I went with my wife, and it was a very different experience because all these years I could see many places near Pune, but I could not venture out on the bikes I had because they were very heavy and they were not purpose built. And luckily at that time, I think October 2011 is when Hero and Honda they parted ways, and Hero announced Impulse.
Okay.
That is when I decided that this is the purpose built bike which I want. And I think after a lot of test rides, because kind of the entire community was not convinced with that motorcycle because I think it offered too less, or maybe people did not understand what is off-roading. But I had a great experience with an off-road motorcycle. So I picked it up in 2012, and then I had that bike for 5 years. So that is where the off-roading scene came really alive into my life.
Okay, and with such limited resources in terms of what you can get for the rider and what you could get for the bike, did you face any challenges? What were your main challenges?
So in terms of resources, I think we had nothing. So in terms of riding gear, we could get only the road riding jackets, road riding gloves, road riding boots. There was nothing off-road specific. At least I was not aware where I could find it. And I think there were very limited stores who were at least selling riding gear, but nobody knew where to get this gear. And nobody knew what needs to be bought. The other thing was, as I said, motorcycles. So till 2011, 2012, there was no dual sport or off-road motorcycle available from an Indian manufacturer. And this was the second thing. Third was, there was nobody who could train us. So whatever we were doing out of experience, and all the trainings we could not find anywhere. There were hardly any YouTube channels. Instagram was not there, and nobody was there to teach us. So it was all a challenge for us to find the trails, find the right gear, find the right motorcycle, and get trained. So it was an overall challenge for us.
Got it. Trails and enduro and off-roading is a very outdoorsy sort of a activity slash sport. Did the passion come from being maybe a trekker or somebody who would go out in the wild, out in nature all the time, and then you just said, okay, let me take it to the next level and go there with a motorcycle? Or was that the progression, or not really?
I have never been a trekker. You can say I'm an outdoors person, but never been a trekker.
Okay.
And I love to take some, you can say, chances and explore new places. So even let's say if I go abroad, I would like to plan my own journey instead of going with a standard tour. So I love to explore and experiment. And off-roading and nature has been, like, you can say, kind of a part of me growing up. So I'm from an army background. So we have lived in a lot of camps all my life. And I think the big change came when I went to Guwahati. It was 1990 and 92. I was there for 3 years. And there was so much of flora and fauna there that we were not scared of frogs or snails or snakes. So everywhere you could see, you could find a lot of nature, a lot of things. And we became a part of it. We felt like there's a connection. And along with this, we used to have our cycles. So what was our thrill? Going in the jungles, going in the forest. So all those things we used to do. So I think both these together combined, when I found that there are a lot of places near Pune where I can do off-roading, I can do trails. I think they both connected. And then I found out a way where I was really enjoying my motorcycling.
Okay. So your bio reads trail finder and enduro rider. So can you help me understand these two terminologies?
When we talk about off-roading, so it's a very broad term. that broad term encompasses all kinds of off-roading. So anything when you go off the beaten path, off the pavement, off the roads, that is technically off-road. When we talk about trails, trails is a very narrow path which has been built over the years by people walking. So we call it pagdandi in Hindi or pivot in Marathi.
Correct.
So
Commuters.
yeah, so villagers have been traveling through that path, through a forest, through maybe some rocky section or a hillside. So that trail is a naturally formed trail. So that is a trail. Enduro is something where you are challenging yourself to a much harsher and difficult terrain. So trail would be something where you are going out in different kinds of terrain and surfaces, but it is a more enjoyable ride. It is not a competitive kind of a sport, you can say. Competitive. It's not a competitive riding.
Okay.
So when I talk about trail finder, so I've been doing these trails for last 17 years, and I've been finding these trails either visually or on Google Earth or different ways to find it. So I've been finding these trails, and now I think I have more than 100 trails which I know within 50 kilometers of Pune.
Wow.
So I don't have to go far. Just 1 hour of riding, you reach the trail, you enjoy on the trail, and you come back.
So I was very curious that the number of trails and off-roads you must have done over the past 17 years. That's a very long time. How do you keep track of where you've been? What is the entry point? What is the exit point? Like, is it just at the back of your mind, or how do you do it? For example, if I say, uh, take me to that trail over there where we had seen this, or where we had seen that, do you know how to get there and how to finish the trail, start the trail, all of that?
So I would say that I think I'm very good at navigation. I can understand GPS and coordinates and directions very well. I can understand the terrain very well. And I started using Google Earth in 2007. That is when I started off-roading, and then that is when I started finding trails on Google Earth. So using Google Earth, the tools and everything. So I think that has been a big part of my navigation. And what happens is, I know like earlier we used to have like 20, 30 trails, maybe 5 years back. Then we started exploring more and more. Now it becomes very challenging to remember which trail is where. I remember the trails, but everyone forgets. So I remember things visually. I'm a photographer, so I think visual is something which keeps me. If you show me a picture, most of the time I can tell you what trail it is.
Oh, wow.
So I have a good memory that way.
Okay.
And what we started doing was, I decided that instead of saying we'll go to that hill, we'll name the trails. So let's say we go to a place where the village name is Kondur. Now there are 4 trails there. So from north, it is K1, K2, K3, K4.
Oh.
That is our designation.
Oh.
So let's say there is a Mukai Mata temple, we call it MMT.
Okay.
So when we talk in our group, we say, let's go to MMT. So everyone knows, okay, where is MMT? And most of the times people are not aware. We just tell them that this is where you are supposed to come. Once they come and say, this is MMT, okay. So this also happens. But that is how we are keeping a track of all the trails. The next thing is, what I do is I keep a list of all the trails, whatever we do, and I group them based on difficulty. So let's say there are easy trails, which I feel that they are easy and everyone should be able to do with any motorcycle. So I'll group them together as easy, then they would be medium, then they would be hard and extreme. So these are the 4 levels. And based on the group and how comfortable are people, we decide where we are going as per that.
Okay. So is Google Maps and Google Earth enough for you to navigate all these terrains, or all these sat nav systems and all? Do you really need to go that hardcore?
I have never used a sat nav system. So what I'm using is primarily Google Earth to map out the trails, because there I can understand the elevation, the slope and the gradients and everything. But sometimes Google Earth is also not enough. So visually you have to go and check. So these are the things, like Google Earth is good enough. And I don't think so we need any sat navs, because most of the times when we are going out on these trails, these are naturally marked trails. So there are already some houses, some locals are there, some villages are there. So maybe they have a field down there and they have a house up there. So there's a marked trail. So you can easily find them out.
So speaking of which, have you ever come across a situation where the villagers or the local people have created a ruckus about you taking the motorcycle somewhere? Or are there any trails where you have to ensure some sort of permissions before going? Or is it just like an open field where you can go randomly?
So one of the basic things that I do is, once I found out a trail, Then I will go to Map Survey of India website. There you can see the maps of the local place in sector wise. So they have their own grid system. So you pick up that sector and you check whether it is a reserved forest or not. If it is a reserved forest, then you can be in big trouble because there is a 25,000 rupees penalty and 3 years imprisonment if you enter a reserved place. And obviously you are disturbing the nature there as well. So once you see that this is a place which is not reserved, and obviously some villages are there, so then you just go there. Usually I have found out that villages are extremely nice.
Okay.
All you have to do is once you go there, you just say hi, hello to them. Now I don't speak Marathi, but basic hi, hello is okay. And they speak Hindi as well. And they're very happy to see that somebody is coming to their place. And they also understand that we are not trashing the place. The other thing is that we have so many trails that sometimes we visit one trail only once a year.
Okay.
So it's not that we are going there every weekend. So if we are going there for maybe once a year, then I think nobody is bothered about it. So
Okay.
till date, we have not found out anyone creating a ruckus or creating any problems for us.
Okay. So since you spoke about trashing the place, is there a certain code of conduct that you follow, or certain things which you will do to respect nature? Because at the rate people are going into nature and abusing it at the risk of their own lives. So do you have like a list of things which you follow and you make your group follow?
So I think the basic thing is that any group follows what the leader does. So if the leaders are responsible, if let's say you see that somebody has thrown a wrapper of an energy bar, you can simply say, please don't do this, pick it up. But this has never happened because people who are coming on these trails, they understand that this is nature and we should not disturb it and we should not trash this place. So typically I tell people that we love our trails. We have to take care of these places. We cannot trash it. We cannot make trouble for villagers also because that is their daily route. So whenever we go, we have to make sure that we don't disturb anything. And usually people are sensible.
All right.
And as I said, people follow what the group follows.
Right.
So if everyone is trashing, then they will also maybe not mind. But if everyone is taking care of these things, people are usually very careful.
We spoke about going here, going there, doing this, doing that. Now let's talk about the means to go there and do that. So can you describe an ideal, off-road vehicle, or what makes an off-road vehicle different from a normal vehicle?
So off-roading in a general sense can be done on any motorcycle. You don't need a specific motorcycle for that. But once you start progressing, once you start going to more difficult places, you would need a specific motorcycle which will work for that terrain. So we would say that a motorcycle is your tool. The better the tool, the easier it will be for you and the further you can go. So some basic things that you can have for your motorcycle is you can change your tires for something which is going to give you better grip. You can reduce the weight and unnecessary things from your motorcycle. So let's say if you have a basic motorcycle, remove the mirrors, remove the saddle stays, remove the grab rails. So all these things are adding complexity and they are adding weight. You don't want to fight that weight. You want it to be as light as possible. So this is how you can make your motorcycle off-road friendly. So start with any motorcycle, which is whatever you have. You start riding, then see the progression, see where you are lacking, where you feel that the bike needs to be changed, and then you progress from there.
All right. So generally, I've seen that there's a lot of money out there. A lot of people with new money, a lot of people with old money. So spending is not a problem per se today. So generally, typically, people will go out for all these heavy-duty, expensive bikes, and I'm also one of them. I have the Tiger 900. You probably know. So are these heavy-duty, heavy bikes also good for trails, or will somebody like me experience a very obvious detriment in terms of being able to do things that a nimble bike like a X-Pulse or and the likes can do?
A heavier bike will definitely not be the best tool for the job. So heavier bikes I think they are more adventure focused. They can carry a lot of weight with pillion. You can carry a lot of luggage. You can tour for multiple hours every day and do some bit of off-roading. So as long as you are doing off-roading, which is like basic, which is like a place where even a car can go, maybe a 4x4, but that will do. So a big adventure motorcycle will be, you can say, a disadvantage, but you can start with that. As you progress, you would definitely need a lighter bike. You would need something which is more manageable, which does not tire you easily. Because the bigger the bike, you have to fight it, you have to muscle it. So all those things will be there.
Okay.
So it depends on what kind of off-roading, what level of off-roading you're doing. The more serious you get, definitely this will be a disadvantage.
Okay. So we spoke about the motorcycle. Now, coming to the rider. So what are the things essential for a rider? Because the amount of accessories that are available out there, there's no limit to how much you can spend and what all you can get. So from a minimum that's required to a maximum that you can go to, can you just help me understand?
Whenever you're starting with off-roading, I think whatever gear you have, even if you have road riding gear or touring gear, you can start with that. You don't need to right away invest a lot of money into off-roading gear. Obviously, off-roading specific gear will help you. Again, it's like a tool. Anything which is specific will be better for you, but you can start off with whatever gear you have. And as and when you progress in your off-roading life cycle, then you will understand that maybe better boots will help you. So when you start, I would always say that a road riding helmet is good enough. Road riding gloves are also okay. Jacket is okay. The first thing that you should invest is maybe in boots. Better, bigger boots, which are let's say MX focused, motocross focused, they offer a lot of protection. And usually when you're starting out as a fresher, as a beginner, there are chances that you're going to fall a lot. The bike will also fall on your leg. You might also hit your foot on some tree root or some rock, or it is going to happen. So the best protection you can have for your shoes, for your feet, is absolutely mandatory.
Okay.
It also gives you a lot of support when you're standing and riding. So start with that. Then maybe you can add a good armor, because good armor will give you a lot of ventilation. Then an off-road helmet. Off-road helmet will give you much wider vision, which a regular helmet will not do. Then off-road gloves. Then you can go with knee braces. So all those things. So first thing I would say, start with the legs, good boots, and if possible, knee braces.
All right. Okay. And the max, as in there's no limit to what all you can get.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's one thing that usually cheaper gear is not the best, but it is better than having no gear.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Actually, I've been not a victim, because it was self-inflicted. So I've always been the guy to not spend too much, always go in for the cheaper option, save some money here, save some money there. And I've realized that whatever I've saved money on does not really do the job for me once I start using it or once I start experiencing it. So I always have ended up doing double the amount of expense. One first time for the cheap riding gear or accessory, and then actually going in for
Yes.
the good one.
Yes.
So yeah.
So my experience says that if you buy a good product, it will last you for years.
Yeah.
So let's say if you buy a cheap gloves, maybe it will last you for 2-3 years. You spend double the amount, it will give you better fit, better protection, and it will maybe last you twice that age of a regular gear.
Correct. Because I think it is expensive for a reason, and until you actually experience it, wear it,
Yes.
you will not understand why it is expensive.
Yes. So it should be a part of the progression.
Yeah.
So initially, I know no one in the right mind will be spending a lot on the gear. They will start with something basic, and then they will learn and understand ki nahi yaar, why this expensive gear is expensive.
Right. Right.
So let it be that part of that progression. I think telling somebody to invest 1.5 lakhs, which is almost equal to an X-Pulse on gear, anyone would do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it should be a progression.
Got it. Yeah. I think that's the most sensible thing to do, because like I said, with so much of money out there, you can just go out there and buy everything under the store, everything under the roof. Or I think the wiser thing would be to just keep adding one thing after the other and progress. So Nikhil, what are the potential risks of this sport? And how, of course, you've told us how we can ensure the safety, but have you had any unfortunate incidents with either you or one of your trail riders which you'd like to share, which was like an eye opener?
The biggest problem is wherever we are going on these trails, ambulances cannot come. So just in case if there's a crash or anything, usually they are slow speed crashes because nobody is racing. It's a fun kind of an activity. But if it happens and let's say you break your arm or you dislocate your shoulder or something and you're not able to ride your motorcycle, that is the biggest challenge. So in last 2 years, it has happened twice with us. Luckily, we had some people with pickup trucks and which are obviously 4x4. So we could go there and get the person out and take them to a hospital. So this is one of the biggest risks that is there in trail riding. However, how you can mitigate is first is by upgrading your skills. So instead of going blind and going all guns blazing, you can take it easy for the first few rides, understand your motorcycle, understand yourself, understand your limits, and then start progressing from there. So that is how you can mitigate it. Obviously, motorcycling is dangerous, and this is a risk that we have.
Okay. So that being said, I think going solo for a trail ride or a off-road is definitely a bad idea.
Worst idea.
Worst.
So definitely, if you're going for any trail, even if it is behind your house, you should be at least there should be at least 2 to 3 guys at least. So I would also recommend don't go with only 2 guys, because if something happens, it will be very difficult for the other guy to manage everything. So at least 3 to 4 is recommended. And since we are going to remote places, sometimes it happens that we are also out of network coverage, and even the GPS cannot. I mean, even if you have to tell somebody where you are, you cannot tell them. What will you say? I'm on top of one hill.
Correct.
You cannot even tell them where you are, what is the way, how to come there.
A lot of places, I don't think you'll be having network for your phones also.
Yes. So it has happened with us. And one time it happened that one of the guys on our ride, he got dehydrated.
Okay.
So again, one rule we follow is whenever you're coming on a ride, you should be having at least 2 liters of water, and you should be having at least a few energy bars. So just in case if we get stuck somewhere, we have at least water and something to eat, right? And we start with a decent breakfast, so nobody starts hungry.
Okay.
Because it is a very exhausting sport. You get tired also easily, and it takes up a lot of your energy. So once it happened that we were out of network, and there was this tall grass there. So from which way we came, we could not figure out. And it was a side of a hill. And actually, there were 5 guys. Nobody remembered. So we knew that this is a general direction, and we could not figure out. And the grass was so tall, we could not see our own path. So we were lost there for, I think, half an hour. There was no network, and we could not contact anyone. And there was no GPS. So we knew a general direction that this is where we have to go. So we entered a forest, then we came out, we tried the other side of the hill, then trying to recollect what was there. Luckily, I carry a drone with me. And so after, I think this time, I had only 15 minutes or 10 minutes left, battery left in my drone. So I said, okay, let's park under a tree. Let me fly the drone and figure out. And then I think after 500 meters, so we started flying. After 500 meters, we could see a proper trail.
All right.
Then we realized, okay, we have come to the wrong side. We are supposed to go from the left. And then retrace the entire trail back under the tree cover and everything.
Okay.
Then we figured out, okay, this is the place.
I was actually going to ask that to you, that has it ever happened, because it's the wilderness, has it ever happened that you've entered a trail and you've gotten lost and you have no idea how to come out of there, so yeah.
So this was only just once.
All right.
Because I think that was the first time, and we got all of us got severely dehydrated, because one guy got dehydrated, then everyone was running out of water by the time we started coming, because every 10 feet he used to stop.
Okay.
Just 10 feet and stop, 10 feet and stop. It was a very tough trail, one of the toughest trails that is around here. So that day we got dehydrated, and then once you're dehydrated, you are like, you totally lose it.
Right, correct.
So that thing happened.
Correct. Do you train people on off-roading and how to ride, how to stand, all the technical skills?
Yeah, so what we do is on the trails, we know the sections where people might find it challenging. So on those sections, we first make everyone stop, and then show them how it should be done, especially for new guys. So there are some guys who are experienced, so they can go on their own. But new guys, we tell them that this is how you're supposed to do. We make them repeat it. We tell them how the correct technique is, what they should be doing. And then they repeat it so that they can build their confidence, they can build their skills.
Okay. And in terms of DIY, do you think there are like 2-3 things which at a minimum every rider should know? Like the most obvious things that could go wrong on a bike, and okay, this is the least you should know, that you should be able to fix this. Are there any things like that?
Ideally, people should know basic troubleshooting. So let's say if my bike stops, how do you troubleshoot it? There's a spark in the spark plug or not, the fuel is coming or not, electricals are working or not, check the fuses. So this is a basic troubleshooting, but usually we have guys on the trails who are knowledgeable enough, and then people are happily troubleshooting.
Okay.
It's a part of the
correct
journey.
So how long does a trail ride last, or there's nothing like that? It all depends on how much time you want to spend out there.
Yeah, so depends on how much time you want to spend there, how much difficulty you want. I prefer something like a 3 to 4 hour outing.
Okay,
So
okay.
let's say if we have started at 8:30, by 12:30 we should be back on the main road.
Okay, okay. Got it. One question I have is about monsoons. Like, I know a lot of people, including myself, I really avoid riding in the monsoons because of the muck, and because I've always been told that, it's very unsafe to ride in monsoons because of the road conditions, the traffic conditions, everybody going berserk. So do you think it's really such a hype, or do you think that monsoons is actually the best time to ride?
Um, Couple of things. So I think people with bigger bikes, now at least I think people have traction control and stuff. So when I had a super bike, it did not the Yamaha FZ1 did not have any traction control, no ABS, and it was 150 horses. And all you had to do was control it with gears and accelerator, and you have to be like careful. So you can say that maybe the ride is not as enjoyable as it is in the dry because you're focusing too much. So at that time the Tamini road was also not good. So 2011-12 I'm talking about. So I took my FZ1 once. It was all broken tarmac, and all the time I was worried about which gear, what speed, how am I riding, and it was not a very enjoyable ride, you can say.
Okay.
So I think that is one of the reasons people with big adventure bikes or big bikes, they are worried whether they should go out in the rains or not. And obviously it brings a lot of risk. Indian highways, there are a lot of muck is there. It all clogs the radiators and stuff.
Okay.
So that is what road riding with big bikes is the issue. When you talk about small bikes, you can take your bike anywhere.
Anywhere,
The speeds are less. Even if you go full throttle, it will not be much. You can easily manage that. And when we talk about off-roading or trail riding, I think monsoon is the best because any easy trail or easy terrain also becomes extremely challenging at times. So you need to have your best of skills, best of abilities to do that. And I have seen this happen with many people. So once they are on the trail in the wet, in the monsoon, where they have struggled a lot. Next time when they come in the dry, they're like, "Arey, this is so easy."
Right.
Then they go full out because they have the confidence that what is the worst that can happen.
Correct.
And dry is like extremely easy.
Correct.
So I think monsoon is the best time to ride.
Okay. And any things which you need to ensure for safety? So, like, for example, don't corner at too much of an angle so you won't slip. So any pointers for, safety?
I think, basic general rules that your tires should be in good condition. It should have proper air pressure because one of the biggest reasons for aquaplaning is underinflating your tires.
I saw that reel of yours. It was very interesting.
Yeah, so people don't pay too much of attention to their tires, and underinflated tires are a big hazard.
Okay.
So aquaplaning is one thing, and obviously your visibility is also less. So because of all this heavy rain and fog and everything, visibility is less. So you need to just go slow and go with what the road conditions are.
Got it. Okay, my next question for you is for people who want to enter the sport, because there is still a lot of confusion with so many brands out there, with so many options out there. People with money, people with limited money. Still, everybody's got a lot of options. So what are the motorcycle options available for people wanting to do trail riding?
Somebody who has experienced off-roading with any bike, and if they're focused that they want to get more into trail riding, I think Hero Expulse is the best bet right now. Very simple motorcycle, just air cooled and FI. That's it.
Also time tested.
Time tested. It has been there for 5 years. It is lightweight. It is manageable, easy to maintain. The biggest problem people have is, let's say you buy a BMW 310 GS. You drop your bike, the clutch lever would be like 2,000-3,000 rupees. Here the clutch lever is 110 rupees. That cheap. So you can carry spares. You can get it fixed anywhere. So I think this is one of the best options we have in the market right now. And we are hoping that there would be some more bikes coming in, but they would be coming at a higher price point, more power and everything. What I feel is that a lot of people, they think that they would just get one bike which will do everything. It is not possible. So if you are looking at trail riding, you need to have a specific bike tailor-made for it, and you need to modify it accordingly.
That's why I have 5 bikes, but I don't do trail riding.
So one bike cannot do it all. So if you're focused on trail riding, get something light, cheap, easy to fix, easy to maintain. Something like, as of now, Hero Expulse is a very good motorcycle for that.
I think this is fairly a new sport or a new style of riding. considering that the motorcycling industry is not very old in India as such. Are there any big names in the sport, or somebody that you look up to, or aspire to be at that level?
Um, Trail riding as such is not a sport.
Okay,
I mean,
maybe
it's not a
enduro.
registered sport. So enduro is there. So I love to watch hard enduro. So I think today morning itself I was watching first day of Romaniacs. So if you see Romaniacs, it happens in Romania and Romaniacs. So it is for
Right,
maniacs. It is
right.
absolutely
Okay.
crazy. And there are riders like Jarvis, Graham Jarvis. I think he's 40 plus, maybe 45 years old.
Okay.
And you should see how he rides. That is like you would aspire to become somebody like him.
All right.
Then Billy Bolt is there, Manny Littenbichler is there. So like last year, Manny was winning every race. He won all the races. So he's that good. So all these riders are there. Then from childhood, I've been following Dakar, and so I have some riders there which I really admire. So like Toby Price is there. So riders like him. So that is the kind of riders you can follow.
Okay, okay. Got it. I can see that you're a very ardent and hardcore content creator. So I'll tell you what happened with me. I always strive to be a content creator because I love traveling, and in that sense, I thought that I should get these stories and visuals back to some set of audience. My first ride was from Pune to Ooty on my Thunderbird Storm, the cruiser, and at that time, I had a 3 camera GoPro setup, but I'll tell you what, I was so discouraged by the end of it because every couple of kilometers, every couple of minutes, I used to, change the chest mount to the helmet mount. Helmet, say, it would come to my handlebar, from there to the crash bar, from there. Constantly keep changing cameras, keep the camera on the road and do like a passing by shot. And it's just not keeping the camera there. So the steps would be to get the helmet out, get the gloves out, then take the camera out. And same thing with the drone also. So it's a big effort for me. I didn't really have the patience for that. So do you have any such problems in terms of creating content? Because you're putting things out there like they're coming out of a mill. I don't know how you do it so fast. What is the trick behind it? How can one do it as efficiently as you do?
So I've been through this. One time I was having 6 cameras on me. So I would have a go-to here, small camera, which would be taking candid shots. So let's say I'm pushing the bike or helping somebody out get up. So that was there. Then there was a main camera, which was my GoPro on my helmet. Then there was an Insta 360 to record people coming behind me. Then there was a GoPro Hero again mounted on my crash bars for taking the terrain. And then there was drone and there was phone. So there were 6 cameras. And at the end of it, and there were 2 cameras from my other friends also who were using it. So I was taking footage from them. So each trail would be 200 GB.
My God.
Now you cannot go through all this footage. So then I started cutting down on cameras. Let's say I'm not using the terrain cam for more than 2 shots, I will not even use it. If I want to show the terrain, take the phone, shoot. And then what I started realizing was that the more we shoot, the more complex it becomes. So whenever you want to do something, make it very easy. Easy for yourself, because now everything has to be like super fast. Everything has to come out quick. And if you see that sometimes the quality also does not matter. It is the quality of content. So instead of going with a lot of cameras, a lot of angles and everything, just stick with a story. Stick with one, what do you call it, that A roll, you stick with that. And then you need to have some inserts, which you can take from anywhere. So a simple ride if you're doing, don't try to change the camera too often. Don't try to shoot too much. So earlier, like when I was going on a ride, I think 2-3 years ago, I would be shooting 30 GB of content on one camera. Now I'm shooting 5 GB.
Oh, okay.
So less is more. You start shooting less with a thought in mind. So let's say if I, as I said, on trails, when we see a place, I know that this is going to be challenging. So what I do is I start the record button, and then talk about it, that this is a difficult terrain, this is the difficulty, and how you need to manage it. Then I'll do it, show it 2 times, and I will record only this bit. And then when others are doing it, I'll maybe record it on a phone or GoPro, whatever works.
Okay.
That's it. So I have a plan in mind what I need to shoot, instead of shooting everything.
Okay. So let's say I want to create content on my rides or my travels. So if you were to recommend, okay, Sameer, get these things. Can you list those things in terms of the kit, content creators kit, if I may call it that?
So let's say in terms of shots, I'll talk about. So maybe 2 to 3 chest shots are good enough.
Okay.
because everything will look the same. You just need to see the speedometer and the handlebar, and that's it. So maybe one you can take on the straight road, one you can take on a twisties. So it gives you a different kind of a feel. Maybe if you're going through a forest, then maybe one more shot. One could be a shot of people coming from behind. One could be your GoPro, your main connected with the mic where you're vlogging, and one could be near the engine or something which shows the suspension working. So 2-3 shots are good enough.
Okay.
So 2-3 shots are good enough. You don't need to take a lot of shots because they will be used as B-rolls. You don't need a lot of shots. So a couple of shots you have taken, that is good enough. So let's say you have very good roads. Take a shot of that terrain cam, as I call it, that these are good roads. Take 1 minute roll. You can easily take out 5, 10 second clips. Once you're on an off-road patch, you can take that. If you're doing a water crossing, maybe put a camera there. So very easy to do. Don't shoot a lot, but go with a proper thought what you're going to create out of it.
Okay.
So usually what happens is people think I'll shoot now and think later. And that is what happens because later on you're not able to connect the thoughts.
Yeah.
So you go with a plan in mind and then try to shoot as less as you can.
That used to happen to me because I came back with so much of content on so many rides, and when I open it, I just don't know how to put it together and
Yes.
to do what with it.
So keep it less, shoot less, go with the plan in mind because the more you shoot, you have to go through that entire footage at least once.
Correct.
So it takes more time. And then the amount of footage you see, the first thing is you're going to say, I'll do it tomorrow. That happens.
Correct.
So shoot less,
Yeah.
that should be good enough.
Right. I sold all my GoPros and I realized that the Insta360 was doing everything for me. So I think that was a very, very good upgrade for me because, it shot all directions at the same time. So the whole effort of changing camera positions was not there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that could be a good addition for people who want to create content. So what do you do when you're not riding?
So I'm
Of course, you've got your work, you've got photography
yeah.
and all, but does anything else come close to the thrill of trail riding or nothing really?
No.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay.
So our weekend thrill is going on a trail. And for me, it starts from who all are coming, then what is the difficulty level I would like to set. And based on the participants, I have to decide where we are going. And usually we do not repeat the trails. So new place, what will be the challenges, what content I can shoot there. So should I take the drone or not? Should I take my camera? So all those things are there.
Okay.
And then obviously the ride.
Okay.
So it is quite thrilling.
Okay. Amazing. You want to quickly tell us about your photography business also? What do you do and what name do you run it under?
So I run Pixelworks Photography and we started in 2012. So we started with events. We started shooting a lot of events. Then we moved to automobile photography as well. Then weddings. We did a lot of destination weddings in India and abroad. And then now we are focused on weddings and corporate work. So we are doing corporate films, headshots and everything.
Okay, wonderful. Any advice that you have for people who are already into off-road and trails or people entering off-roads and trails? Any word of advice? 1 line, 2 lines?
A lot of lines actually.
Okay, go for it.
Usually when people start off-roading or trail riding, the first thing that they target fixing is changing your bike or upgrading your bike. You feel that the bike is a problem. Then the second thing they look at is changing the riding gear. They think riding gear is a problem. Whereas usually it is the skills and the rider which is the problem. So as I always say that we should always look for the weakest link in the chain. That is the weakest, that weakest link will make the entire chain weak. So first see what is the problem. And usually it is the rider that I'm talking about. So you need to upgrade your skills. You need your fitness because usually people are not focused on fitness. So fitness you need to build. You need to have a good mental health. You need to have good navigation. At least not good. It should be basic. You should not say I'm going in that direction. I don't know what direction it is.
Yeah, some sense of direction.
Some sense of direction is required, where you are. So these things are required. So work on your skills, work on your fitness, and then start thinking about riding gear and your motorcycle. Because after all, riding gear and motorcycle are just tools. They are going to help you. So anything which helps you will obviously make you better. But skills are something which are absolutely mandatory.
Okay.
Even a skilled person on a slower or a bad bike can be faster and better and safer than you on the trails. And one more thing is that I have seen that people, they think that riding faster is a solution. It should be the other way around. First ride slow, get your basics right, get the right techniques drilled in. Once you are going with that, then you will have a better output.
Got
So
it.
then any motorcycle you will have, you can ride it.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. And lastly, where can people find you on social media? What are your IDs/handles?
So I'm motorcycle underscore trails. Now I have two accounts actually. So one is motorcycle underscore trails. That is for the primary content that I'm creating. And I was getting a lot of requests for content in Hindi. So I had another page. So again on Instagram. So that is @motorcycle trails without an underscore.
Okay.
So that is where I'm posting the Hindi content.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Also, you have a name called Newbies to Nobbies. I love that name. Or yeah.
So that is a kind of a series that I started. So
Oh, okay. Okay.
a lot of people approached me, sir, I want to train with you. Now it is very difficult for me to take out time for training people.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously the reach is also less.
Mm-hmm.
So like, let's say if I was doing trainings till I think 6 months back, so only 5 to 10 people would turn up.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to reach to a bigger audience. So that is why I decided that I will create a series where I will give short tips. People can try it out and see how it works for them. So that is where I came up with the idea of Newbies to Nobbies.
Oh, that's wonderful. It's a very catchy name, and I think it'll go along with the whole series.
Thank you.
And where can people find Nikhil the photographer?
Okay, so my professional work is on pixelworks underscore photography.
All right.
So that is where my professional work is. And obviously my website, pixelworks.in.
Okay, wonderful. So for all the viewers, the entire audience, do go and check out all these pages. I have personally enjoyed going through all of his content, and it's truly engaging, and he's doing a good job with whatever he's doing. So do check it out. So when you go trail riding, you must be carrying a certain list of essentials in probably maybe a backpack or a tail bag. So can you list out those things for the audience?
So basic essential for everyone is at least 2 liters of water they should carry, and they should carry some kind of energy bars with them, because we will not get anything to eat or drink on the trails, and there are no shops obviously, no tapris, no shops. So that is the biggest challenge, and you need to carry that. The other thing is, as a group, we decide that one guy is going to carry tools, some basic tools, and one guy is going to carry a basic medikit. So let's say if you need to make a sling, if you need to do a bandage or something like that, if you need to have painkillers, so some basic kit and a basic toolkit. So that we distribute the responsibility that who is going to carry what. But water and energy bars is mandatory for everyone.
Okay. And what are the things in the medikit and the basic toolkit? Because again, there is no limit to what you can carry.
So somebody who is carrying a basic kit should have some spanners like 8, 10, 12, 14. These are which works on most bikes. And then Allen keys like 4, 5, 6. And then one adjustable spanner you can have. We also carry a tow rope. Sometimes we have used it to lift trees to make way. We have done that.
Fun.
And sometimes it has been used to tow a motorcycle. Or sometimes when people have gone off the trail, then we have used it to pick the bike up back on the trail.
All right.
So this has been used. So again, this is important. When you talk about medikit, then painkillers, a bandage, a crepe bandage, or maybe something which you can use to make a sling. Some of us, we carry a Swiss knife or that multi-tool. So those things also we carry.
Correct. I think you've also emphasized the importance of having a packet of M-Seal.
Oh yes,
Yeah,
yes.
so I remember
So
that.
M-Seal is also part of our kit, because sometimes, it has happened with me that the alternator side case, it cracked open and oil was leaking everywhere. So immediately we put the bike down, tried the place, put the M-Seal, and I was able to ride back home.
Okay. Is fuel ever a problem? That you have to carry some fuel
No,
or not
never,
really?
never.
Because I would assume that you would be riding at first, second gear, nothing more than that. So it must be using up a lot of fuel.
Yeah, but the trails are not very long. So
Okay,
let's say the longest trail would be 25 kilometers one way. So 50
Oh,
total.
okay.
So 50 is like, even if you get 20 kmpl, that will be like only 2.5 liters of fuel. So fuel is never a problem. Obviously, you need to fill it. And I think till date, I have never seen fuel, any bike out of fuel.
Unless of course it's not fueled to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah. So another question that I have for you is, so I don't ride in the rains. I cringe at the thought of riding in the rains because of all the mud that gets sprayed on me. And I have this OCD about keeping my bike and all my gear, spick and span, like really shining. And I see your videos where you're covered with mud, you're covered with slush, and all of that is going into all these small holes and crevices, and I don't know where all. How do you clean it? Like once you're back, how do you ensure that the riding gear is up and about, ready for your next ride? Or how do you, of course, the motorcycle can be taken to the washers, but is there a certain, procedure for it that you follow?
So typically in monsoons, what we do is immediately after the ride, we go to a washing guy, get the bike cleaned. We also ask him to hose us down,
What do you say?
the pants and the boots,
Huh.
because only that thing can take off all the
You
mud.
pressure wash yourself?
Yes, yes.
Whoa.
So pants and the boots.
Okay,
So
okay.
that takes 90% of the mud away.
Okay.
And immediately once we come home, we are going to wash our gear.
Okay.
We have to wash it because there's so much of mud and stuff. The zippers will go bad and all those things. So every time we come home, immediately we have to wash it and keep it out for drying.
I think on the bike as well as on the riding gear, I think if it gets dried, I think then it's a
Yes.
bigger problem to
Yes,
take it off.
yes,
So,
yes.
all right, that's a very interesting tip. Okay, so great. Thank you, Nikhil, for coming on my first ever motorcycle podcast on Spoked Out. And I look forward to having you over for more interesting conversations, as I go along and as I grow. And wishing you more fun and a lot of luck for all your trails and all your off-roading.
Thank you for having me on the show, and it was great talking to you. And I really loved the fact that you came up with a lot of questions, which I'm sure a lot of people want to know the answers of. And we'll definitely meet soon, and we'll have more conversations like this.
Done. I definitely would want to come on one of your trails. So looking forward to that. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.